We've tried to make G20 not a government's presidency, we've tried to make it a people's presidency. Sherpas are like the envoy of the Prime Minister.
Yeah, the eyes and ears.
No, they're supposed to take the Mount Everest. It's supposed to take the leader on top of the Mount Everest. Now, either you fail to take them or you succeed. Elections are won and fought in India on grounds of good governance. Elections are emotive issues. They're fought on different other issues, not on G20. If elections are fought and won on this, then the Congress government should have done the Commonwealth Games in a spectacular manner and won the elections. Elections are not fought and won only on G20. Firstly, when I took over, I had no thoughts. I didn't even know what the job was. I was just told to take over and I took over. But as I went deeper into the subject, I realized that it's a job very unlike what I'd done in the past. Because this is about working with different countries. It's about your ability to negotiate. It's your ability to bring consensus. It's your ability to push several complex issues together. And G20 is essentially an economic forum. It's a forum designed to drive global growth and development. And therefore, your ability to work across not merely countries, but across different ministries of Government of India, because several working groups are dealt by the ministries, and your ability also to work with the states, because you're going to host 215 meetings in 56 cities of India, and how you can use this opportunity to transform Indian cities, help states build a brand, push for one district, one product. So this is an opportunity which is very multi-sectoral, it's multidisciplinary, but it's a very fascinating job. It's very unlike what I've done in the past. No, I've never had a challenge. Actually, the first Sherpa meeting was held in an opposition state. It was held in Udaipur, and I worked with both the Chief Minister and the bureaucracy of Rajasthan. They cleaned up Fatehpur Lake, they did up all the roads, they did their own branding. It was wonderful working with the Rajasthan government, which is an opposition-led state. And we've, in recent times, worked with several opposition states. I've never had a challenge. I believe in working in very close partnership, both at the political and bureaucratic level. The great thing has been that the Prime Minister took the effort of holding a meeting of chief ministers and governors, and all of them then realized the significance and importance of G20. It's very unlike anything that you do. It's very unlike a Commonwealth Games which you do in a short period of time. It's very unlike a World Cup football match that you're doing everything in 12 days. It's very unlike a cricket tournament. It's not like an IPL match. It's about hosting 215 meetings through the year in 56 cities, and therefore you have to organize everything through the year in partnership with the states, and therefore states play a key role in this, and therefore both cooperative federalism and competitive federalism played a key role. Since Rajasthan had done it so well, I found Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, every single state of India, including Tamil Nadu, including Kerala. I mean, look at what Kerala has done. I mean, Rajasthan cleaned up Fatehpur Lake, did all the roads. Kerala, on the backwaters, for the sake of G20, has created a completely new convention center, which will help them drive the meetings, incentive, convention and exhibition market for the future. So all these states have done everything possible for the G20, and we worked in partnership with everyone, including the state governments, institutions, public. We've tried to make G20 not a government's presidency. We've tried to make it a people's presidency. Elections are won and fought in India on grounds of good governance. Elections are emotive issues. They're fought and won on different other issues, not on G20. If elections are fought and won on this, then the Congress government should have done the Commonwealth Games in a spectacular manner and won the elections. Elections are not fought and won only on G20. But it's an opportunity for India to get an international forum like this. A presidency like this, to achieve success, requires three different things to my mind. First is a great political narrative, and that is good political leadership which has the political acumen to deliver a top-class G20 presidency, and the development story that you're weaving around it, which in India's case is enormous. The infrastructure work that has been done, the digital public infrastructure work that has been done, the climate action work that has been done, all that. This is an opportunity for you to tell the world that we have leapfrogged digitally and technologically. This is also an opportunity to say that you've been the pharmacy and the vaccine capital of the world. So that's the political narrative. The second is the content side of it, and that is that you are dealing through 13 working groups on the Sherpa track, you are dealing through 8 tracks on the finance side, you're dealing with 12 engagement groups. Each one of them is working, and therefore the content that you prepare, the issue notes that you prepare, and the issue notes then become the subject of discussion, and from them come the outcomes, and that is an input into the final leader's declaration. So how well you craft your issue notes is a very major thing. I mean, the substantive content is which many people do not realize is a very major component. And India is the only country which put out its issue notes almost 2 months ahead of the G20. And the third is, to my mind, is how well you execute, because you're doing 215 meetings. Your ability to execute it to perfection on ground, your ability to do great arrangements in partnership with the states, your ability to do good, because you're going to get over 3 to 4 lakh guests during this period. Each one of them can go as your brand ambassador. So how do you make each one of them as your cultural, spiritual ambassador to promote brand India and incredible India? I mean, that's a huge multiplier impact. So these three contents, your political narrative, your content through the issue note, and your ability to organize a great G20, your administrative and your organizing ability, all three have to work together to be able to deliver a great G20. And that's integral to a successful G20. And I think we need to don't look at it from the eyes of a political correspondent. Look at it from the perspective of an opportunity for India. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to brand and promote India. The discussion between the Sherpas went on for about 5.5 days, and we could not achieve success because we must understand that G20 is an economic forum. It's supposed to discuss growth. It's supposed to discuss financial prosperity. It's not a political body. The political body is the Security Council of the United Nations. And therefore, this was the perspective, that how do you bring out the economic perspective, not the political perspective, which should be discussed in the United Nations. The G7's argument was that the fallout of the war has huge economic impact in terms of fuel getting 3 times higher, it's impacting lives, there's a challenge of food, there's a challenge of moving out fertilizer, and your inability to provide fertilizer will impact food production next year, and therefore the war is having huge impact on economics, and therefore it is impacting growth and development in Europe, and therefore this war has significant economic impact. Now we had to bridge this between the 2 and 5.5 days we were negotiating. We could not achieve success. On the last day, India played a key role in helping draft the preamble to the communique, what is known as the Chapeau Para, and we drafted that out. We took the Security Council resolution. Now, in the Security Council resolution, India had abstained from it. So we took the Security Council resolution word by word, and then we even said the voting pattern. That 141 had voted for, 21 against, so many abstained. We said exactly that, and we drafted a para. And finally, there was another para which said what should be the principles behind it. Para 3 and 4, which were critical. We drafted it, and then we worked in partnership with Troika, that is Indonesia and Brazil, and subsequently we worked with all the emerging countries. So we built up an alliance with both the Troika and the emerging markets. And we drafted out something, and finally we gave it to the G7. Now that we negotiated. Now next day morning, 9 o'clock was the meeting. This negotiation went on till about 9:30, 10 in the night. We finally managed to convince G7 that this is the way forward. And this is the only way we'll achieve success. We can't afford a failure of G20. And then we convinced them. And then after convincing them, because we built up an alternative group of emerging markets, then we finally convinced G7. We took them on board, and then we went to Russia. Now the Russian Sherpa wanted to get this cleared from the Russian minister. Mr. Lavrov was in Cambodia. He'd left Cambodia and had landed in Bali, but he fell ill. He was hospitalized for some time, and it was very difficult to convince him. But finally, then we did several things by which we were able to convince Russia to agree to that, and then Russia agreed. And then we had China at the last minute objecting to that line which we had drafted, that this is not an era of war, this is an era of diplomacy and dialogue, which was a very important line because it was Prime Minister Modi's line. And China started objecting to that. But China got isolated on that. But we finally held several bilateral meetings with China, and we finally managed a communique finally out. They at about 11:30 in the night, and next day 9 o'clock was the meeting, and that's how we could get the Bali agreement out. But India played a very, very key, very significant and a very major role in assisting and supporting Indonesia to get that agreement. My belief always has been that it needs to be informal, so we had to discuss bilaterally with China and find a solution to what they were wanting. They were wanting something, and that we finally managed to convince and put it in the communique somewhere else. No, I don't want to dwell on that, but eventually it's a leader's declaration. The leader's declaration is to be accepted by all the leaders, and without the leaders accepting it, it then gets passed. The Sherpas are like the envoy of the Prime Minister. They're supposed to take the Mount Everest. It's supposed to take the leader on top of the Mount Everest. Now, either you fail to take them or you succeed. So there, the job is really to ensure that you are able to achieve success. So, and you have to take your leader into confidence.
There's a lot of heavy lifting required.
In a complex world, we are in a very turbulent time. We are in the most turbulent time because positions have hardened, and right now we've had 1 year of the war. You've seen the scenario with Mr. Biden going to Ukraine. You've seen Mr. Putin's address. So there are tensions, and we'll have to manage we'll have to look at the external environment and manage.